you. Hi, how's it going? Someone answered. Great, I'm glad to hear it. Perfect. All right, well, my name is Jeanette. I am the marketing operations manager here at Hollywood Fringe. We're so excited for our workshop number 5, marketing and ticketing. Thank you for all you guys here, and thank you for everyone tuning in online. So before we get started, I want to do a land acknowledgement. So the Hollywood Fringe acknowledges that we are on the unceded lands of the Tongva, Quiche, Gabrielinos, and Gabrieleños. A land acknowledgement is a former statement that recognizes and honors the indigenous peoples of the land we presently reside and or work on. Our statement serves as a practice as we commit to furthering our connection to the indigenous communities past, present, and emerging. So as we continue, we have some incredible panelists here. Hi, come on in, take a seat wherever. We have Jenna right here, Stephanie over there, Larry and Joe. Yeah, let's get to it. Oh, I forgot to mention my pronouns are she, they. Visual description for our online viewers. I am a tan woman with short brown curly hair, glasses, colorful vest, green top, black jeans, and black boots. Let's get into it. So we have some great folks here today who are here to give you their expertise. Before we get to everything, I have a bunch of cute little general announcements for everyone that I'm going to speed through as efficiently as I can. They're very important, but we want to get started soon. And again, want to acknowledge again that we are on a live stream and recording this meeting for our YouTube channel. So after today, it should be uploaded to our workshops playlist on YouTube at Hollywood Fringe. So make sure you take a look there. Hi, live streamers who are joining us virtually. So let me just make sure I have the correct thing on here. Perfect. All right. So we have some other upcoming workshops, town halls, and events. So we always have tons of educational and networking events on our schedule this year, all designed to prepare you for a successful Fringe run. You can always go to hollywoodfringe.org/events to see upcoming events. We're always going to keep that page updated for y'all. We got town halls, which are in person and live streamed, where we give you the download of everything you need to know ahead of Fringe. We've also got workshops and panels like today, sometimes digital, sometimes in person, but again, always live streamed. And where we have experienced Fringe veterans here who share best practices on specific topics. And we also have virtual web sessions where you can learn, actually an upcoming one where you can learn how to navigate the Fringe site, which is super important for ticket sales and really just in general for your Fringe run. So if any topics today are a little confusing, or in general, you're a first-time producer, or maybe you're coming back and you just need a little bit of refresher, we have an upcoming virtual web session, number 2, Guide Proofs, Ads, and Ticketing on April 14th. That's very important, right? And then, of course, we have networking events. So our first weekly office hours begin tomorrow, March 26th. It's going to be 7 to 10 p.m. at the Palm and the Pine. This is such an incredible opportunity to meet fellow Fringers, network, make friends, ask questions in person. I will be there as well. So if there's anything today, you're like, wait, I didn't really quite understand what Jeanette was saying. Well, I'll be there in person and you can ask me then too. And you could just start marketing your show. That'll be very important as well. We really highly encourage participants to come as many office hours as they can. And again, I will be there. So locations for those upcoming, I believe the next 9 weeks of the office hours are currently up on our events page. Again, hollywoodfringe.org/events. Speaking of all those fun dates, I'm going to go through the really big important ones for our upcoming festival. So April 15th, registration deadline. You must register by this date to be listed in our printed guide. April 20th, guide ads and proofs deadline. So this is a day you must have your final proofs approved if you're purchasing an ad in our guide. May 1st, tickets go on sale. June 5th to 10th, we have our previews. June 11th, we have our opening night party. June 12th to the 29th is the actual Hollywood Fringe Festival. And then June 30th, we have the awards and closing night party. So again, all of this information is going to be on hollywoodfringe.org/events. We'll continue to send our updates in our weekly newsletter. Once you register, you should be subscribed to that participant newsletter. I actually am the one who sends those out. So does Roddy. If there's any mistakes, it's Roddy's fault. But if you really like it, it's all me. But that being said, I'm going to say this now, and I might mention this throughout. Make sure on your account, because the email that we're going to be sending it to is the email you use to create a Hollywood Fringe account. Make sure that email is correct, or that's an email you actually look at. I worked this summer as a community coordinator. One of the issues we had where people were like, I'm not receiving a newsletter. And I'm like, well, that's a problem. We look, and you're like, oh, there's a typo in your email. So make sure that is correct. And we send those every week. Super important information. We're going to talk about code of conduct. So we don't have many rules at Fringe, but we do take our code of conduct very seriously. If you register as a project, you and your team will be held accountable for your actions that you participate in the festival, as you should at any professional setting you choose to take part in. Please read the full code of conduct at hollywoodfringe.org/conduct. Remember to share the community ethos and code of conduct with your team. And I will also be plugging this throughout. Make sure you go to hollywoodfringe.org/participants. Has a participant packet. It has all of this information I just said in there in one place. Makes it easy peasy for you. Again, quick notes, make sure you're signed up to receive the emails. Make sure that email is correct. For some reason, if you're not receiving them and you've registered, just send us an email, support@hollywoodfringe.org. We'll get you on there. Follow us on social media, Instagram and Facebook. Join our Facebook group, Hollywood Fringe. And if you're posting anything Fringe related, use hashtag HFF25 so we can start building that community and we can see what everyone is up to. And again, any questions, comments, concerns in general, send us an email, support@hollywoodfringe.org as we continue on. Okay, we did that. So moving on. Woo, yeah. Yeah, we're getting started. All right. So let's get started. So I'm going to get started by introducing our incredible panelists we have here. Now, just so you know where I'm coming from, not only do I work as Hollywood Fringe as the marketing operations manager, this past summer I was a community coordinator, mostly in Fringe Central, trying to engage the audience and artists together. Before that, in 2022, which is like horrible to say out loud, I was a scholarship recipient actually at Hollywood Fringe and I had a show. So that is my experience with Fringe. I'm happy to be here with them as well. But as I've been told, I don't know everything. So our panelists are here to help with their expertise on producing at Fringe and producing really in general. So let's start with introductions, if you guys don't mind sharing. Again, if you don't mind saying your name, your pronouns that you're comfortable sharing, visual description for our visual viewers here, and a little insight into your background experience in general and experience with Fringe, if you have it. We'd like to start off.
Yeah, hey. So I'm Joe Pisanzio, he, him. I am an Italian male, 6'2", with like kind of a disheveled mop of a hair and like a scruffy beard. That's my self description with gray shirt and gray pants. I did a game show last year, wild interactive game show, and I've done a handful of other fringes. I did Rochester Fringe and I did Ed Fringe for just like 3 days last year, but I've done a handful of other fringes. So that's kind of my background in fringe experience. Yeah. I think that's good. I'll send it over to you.
Hi, I'm Jenna Podell, she, her. Okay, so I'm like really short. Like my feet, they're like not touching the ground right now, right? And I'm in platform Crocs, so really short. I'm under 5 feet. I'm wearing balloon clown pants, and I'm wearing a blue jean jacket. I got a really short, kind of gingery hair, but my roots are showing. Recession. And my show last year was Ronald. It's about Ronald McDonald. It's a solo clown show. Just me being really dumb every night with a new audience. And that was my first time doing Fringe. And yeah, my only one so far.
Hi, I'm Steph Woodburn. My pronouns are she, her. And I am a 5'8" brunette, half Asian woman wearing a white top that's like Princess Leia's white dress if you cut off the skirt part, and black pants. And last year I had a show called D&D Betches. It's about 3 adventurous women who must win all the money in the world by playing D&D. And it was my first show and a fantastic experience.
I am Larry Myers, he, him. I'm dressed like Kermit the Frog, I just realized. I'm all in green. I'm 5'6" 3/4", although 5'7" when doing yoga, I guess. And I've done 3 Fringe shows, 2016, 2017, and last year was the show done right here in the Hobgoblin called Did I Just Join a Cult? So, yeah, there's a good deal of experience. I'm a former television writer. I do a lot of theater, both regular and immersive theater now. So hopefully bring some experience in terms of marketing, branding, PR, and communications that will help you out.
Perfect. Those were like the most fun visual descriptions. I love that. All right. So let's get into these questions. So we're going to start with ticketing and then we'll focus more on marketing for the rest of this panel. So we'll get into the logistics of all the how-tos on ticketing and comms again at our April 14th web session, but let's touch on it like generally here. So here's a note for first-time fringers. When selling tickets, 50% of your tickets must be sold through the Hollywood Fringe site. So let's say one performance, you have 50 seats in your house, 25 of those tickets do need to be available to be purchased through the Hollywood Fringe site. You can use third-party platforms for the other half if you prefer to do so. But I do want to note that 100% of your ticket sales on the Hollywood Fringe site do go back to you as an artist. We don't keep that. Some third-party platforms may take a cut of your tickets. So it's just something to be aware of if you're exploring those options. You can always just sell your tickets on the Fringe site too. So question for our panelists, whoever wants to pop in, let's quickly talk about the average ticket prices and what you recommend setting the ticket prices at. So last festival, the average ticket price was $15 and then the average price sold was $10.71. So that meaning, originally listed as like 15 and then with like discounts, comps, all that stuff, it kind of went down to $10.71, just an average. Depending on cast size, of course. So how do you set your ticket prices and what do you recommend setting ticket prices at if anyone wants to pop in?
I mean, I'll say one thing. I think do the math on like how much you're spending and actually figure out like the number of tickets you're going to have to sell in order to break an even point and figure out that realistic numbers. Like, can I get 20 people to come to my show for 5 shows? Okay, that would be my break-even point or whatever, but go through and all the spending you're spending on marketing the show, whatever, and kind of understand what those numbers and let that kind of inform you on what you should do your tickets at. And then also, look at the history of like, okay, $15 was the average last year. What are people actually going to spend? But know that math in your head when you're deciding that stuff.
Joe's got a really good point. In the 3 shows that I've done, going back to 2016, every single time I had 150 people, like within 5, so my number is 150. That also, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is like the average number of tickets sold from every Fringe I can remember looking at annual reports for. So that's the number that I always target. I've always personally set my price at 15. There are always comps and discounts thrown out. So that's the amount of revenue when you do the multiplication that I anticipate.
Yeah, I had a 5-person show and we were at a space that had 2 levels and it was a 50 to 60 person theater. So I set my prices for $20, knowing that there would be discounts for various family and friends and various writing groups I'm part of and, lots of different discounts. And I think balance it out exactly what Joe was saying. So, how much money you're investing in the play and how much you need to break even, how many tickets you need to sell. So I would aim to sell out every show, but it's also like balancing that, I think, with your day job. How much time do you have to push into the marketing and ticketing? How much are you spending your time, your money? And then balancing that to make sure there's a road to break even. I would definitely not recommend saying like, okay, I'm not sure how much I'm spending, so we'll just price it here, because then you're not, unless you have money to burn, which I don't know that any of us do. So yeah, just being mindful of like approximate spend and then approximate cost you can recoup.
And I also in general would just have a lower range of prices online, and then it was going to be like $5 more at the door, because in LA specifically, everybody plans their schedule last minute and they all show up at the door last minute, and that's really hard for knowing how many people are going to be in your audience, and it just makes you nervous up until it. But I wouldn't. It depends of your mindset going into it. Like, is this something like you want to come away with, like having made a profit? I also don't know many people who did that too. Like, we wouldn't be in performing arts if that was the case, right? It's just like, so what are we comfortable losing, and how many? Is it more about having people in the audience or like making this certain number? And then just make them more expensive at the door, because it's like, but plan your life earlier, please.
Yeah, those are all really great. I think that's a really good point too. Of like, you can set it at this price, knowing you have a little bit of wiggle room. I mean, like, Jenna and Joe, you both had like solo shows, and you had a cast of 5, so those are all things to consider. I think also a good thing to mention is just make sure you have a budget before you go in. Like, just make make sure everything's. But some people don't, and hey, I get it. But it is very important to have, and that's what you'd base it on. Speaking of which, let's just talk about discounts and comp tickets right now. Do you give them out? When do you give more comps during previews to entice like maybe reviews, word of mouth? Do you give specific discounts for a specific group of people, friends, special like codes? What do you guys think about that?
So many discount codes.
Chat and also no, you're good. I just asked the organizer to speak a little louder.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to see him update. It's very loud. I can just hear you a little bit more to do.
This is for Roddy.
Yes,
Okay. Okay. Wait.
About discounts, comps, specialized codes. What was your strategy with that?
So many discount codes. You're going to give your most discount codes probably like the week leading up to Fringe, because it's going to be for other like Fringe performers. They've now seen your posters at office hours and stuff, and you make friends and they just want to see your material too. In that case, I give a lot of like comp swaps. So like, I'll go see your show if you come see my show, and it's like no money on either side, but you're probably going to want to go see other people's shows as well. That's it for now.
I think as early as possible. What happens is that the week leading up to it, people start to panic if they feel like they haven't sold enough. So the last office hours, everyone's like, let's swap. Please come see my show. I'll come see yours. I just want to fill seats. It's like at the beginning, you have like, okay, my price is here. Then it like lowers. But as far as I would just recommend selling as early as you can and knowing the dates, getting the word out to your friends. Think of who's coming. Think of what discounts you can create for each group that you're part of in LA. It could be like your neighbors. It could be your place of work. It could be like any circle. People like to feel included. And for comps, I would think about what your career goals are. I am a film and TV writer, so I want to give comps to my mentors who, for example, I did the CBS TV Writing Fellowship. It's important to me that my mentors in the program who are VPs of comedy, like, would come. So I was like, hey, please, I would love for you to come. And then you send those tickets to them. Or if you're an actor and you want someone to see you in this performance, like, hey, I would love for you to come. I'll put a reserve sign on the seat, bottle of water there for you. Just make it special for the person who you want to come see, because you're putting this art on for you. And yeah, that's how I would think about for comps.
Oh, fine. Great. I'll take it. Why not? Okay. So, so for a couple like technical things, like, so I forget all the categories, but there's like different, like there's like an artist tier category that there's like different like ticket categories, I believe. It might be confusing with another Fringe, but you can also, and you can correct me on that if I'm wrong there. Yeah, okay. But you also we've been talking about discount codes. So you can create as many like different like tiers in different kind of marketing kind of codes as you want, and do different weird promos. You can like have a thing like today for the next hour, whatever, like anyone who buys a ticket now, or like you can start to think like different like festival tiering kind of stuff of like, after this day, this price is going to go up, or on day of, price is going to go up, and you make that really clear to people who are interested in attending the show. So yeah, and then this may get into something later on, but like also like you can start to think about like collaborating with other people and doing these sort of like ticket like different deals with other artists and other shows, because I think the biggest thing with Hollywood Fringe is most of the audience is other Fringe participants or other people from previous shows or people in that network, and it's really hard for people to come in to get like just outside people in. So you really want to be capturing the people who have gone to a show, right? So work with each other. You're all on the same team on that. So how do you get each other's audience to come to each other's shows? Because a lot of people have a big group of friends, they come to just that show, right? How can you figure out different deals and different things? Maybe flyer each other's audiences, or you create different like ticket deals and different codes for each other's show. so that you can recapture other people's audiences, because that's the main thing. If you can get someone to come to a second show, like it's going to be way easier to capture that audience than just someone on the street who doesn't know what Fringe is, right? Like that's the biggest barrier to get over, is someone who's going to attend shows. So, design around that.
You mean specifically like find out whose shows are at your theater, make friends with people that are also in your same theater. If their show gets out maybe like 30 minutes before your show, then you can pair up and have them. It's just right. It's right there. It's right. Same theater. So you don't have to, you can get a coffee, you can get a drink downstairs. Like a lot of theaters have bars, and then just like come see my show. So.
Yeah, I think that's one tactic, right? Like, I think that's one tactic, but and start to like brainstorm and do weird tactics and all sorts of stuff. Like you can put a million different like discount codes or whatever. Go crazy with them. Like I had like 20 different codes. Like every day I had a different thing. I had a specific one on a hidden QR code that like, there's you could play, no one used it, but like it was too hidden, but I was playing with it, right? So you have that ability to do it, but really I think it's really the community piece of it that's the most important.
Yeah, I'd say that imagination is very much your friend in all of marketing and ticketing and so on. Also think about when coming to discounts, think about how the retail world works, which is, Macy's end of, winter is coming up, got to make room for the spring inventory. So they're going to discount stuff. The other thing is to think about that. And, at what point do you want to start moving your inventory of tickets, knowing that people do tend to buy at the last minute? The other thing, I tried it last year. I honestly don't know if it did any good or not. But, when I went to a Fringe event and it was there for 2 hours, I would change the ticket price to a discounted price for those 2 hours only. So as I was pitching to people and talking to people and say, we're on sale till 10 p.m. So there are no bad ideas. Give everything a try. If it sparks you, if you think, oh, that's worth a try. Yeah, try it. See what happens.
It's also a great opportunity to dream big, because if you have an IMDb Pro account, you can look up everybody's emails and get creative with it, like send an email, be like, I have a free ticket for you for my show. Like some of these people, who knows? You never know. Some people, their job is to scout and they will come, but like dream big, girl.
Also, I want to say one more thing about comp swap is really huge at Hollywood Fringe, and be careful with it, particularly if you have a smaller audience and a good show. A lot of people I ran into, like their show picked up and then half of their ticket, they would have sold tickets, right? So you can start to think about comp swaps or rush tickets or certain deals of like, hey, if there's a space in my audience, you can come to it kind of stuff. But like, especially if you have a smaller theater, just start to be careful with the comp swaps. However, also, it's great because you get to see a ton of shows and you make a bunch of friends that way too, and you can fill seats in the audience. Just know, pay attention to that.
Can I just to follow up very quickly? This is a great thought, which is, IMDb Pro and whatever, and you want to maybe target a specific producer or an agent or whatever. They're not going to come, but you know who you should target, which is their assistant. Yeah, the assistants are the gatekeepers. They're the ones who are hungry and moving up. They want to discover someone. Very unlikely, to be honest, but not impossible.
And one more thing, if you have a cast, maybe consider giving them a bunch of comps. So I gave each of our cast 20 comps and then a little more if they needed or wanted, because we had 300 seats to sell. So, thinking about you want, they're probably not earning the paycheck as an actor that they deserve in the Fringe, so just like figuring out what ways that you can also help, everyone feel seen and heard.
Yeah, these are all great points. Thank you so much. I love that too about giving comps too. Sometimes it's just like, maybe if my friend's in a show and then they use a comp with me, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm going to come back. I'll buy a ticket next time and I'll bring a friend, right? That's, it's a good thing to think about. I honestly, I do know in the web session, we'll talk more about this too, but like, don't, maybe have like 5, if you're going to give out comps and stuff, you can always do it for a discount goes for specific performances, not just the whole run too. So maybe you're like, oh, I know I gave out some comps for like my, I don't know, like June, like 15th performance of this day. I want to make sure those people are able to come. Let me just make sure I change the house size to 35 instead of 40. So I have those 5 available. We'll learn more about that in a web session, but there's just little tactics too. But let's get into the last question about ticketing before we jump into marketing. Let's talk audience size, which is kind of what we just talked about too. How do you set expectations when it comes to audience size at Fringe? How do you define and set realistic audience goals when picking a venue, budgeting for a show, so on? Anyone have any tips, hot tips?
Well, after 3 shows now with 150 exact people every time, I would do 5 shows of 30 seats. that's what I would do going forward. I was actually here last year in this theater, which I guess is a little better, it's about 50. So I was always at least 2/3 full. So that was encouraging because it's much better to have a smaller venue that feels full to you. At least for me as a performer, the energy changes when it's, versus say 10 or 11 or 12 people in a 50-seat theater.
I wanted a theater that looked like a castle. So I just went online and I looked up all the different things in the theaters, and I really loved McCadden Theater. So I said, hey, let me make an appointment. Let me book. I went super early, and I think I booked in March or whenever, just because then maybe you might get some good dates. You might, make sure that they know it's a priority. You want to shoot there, meet with them, not shoot, but do your show. And yeah, so I kind of went based on the design I had in my head. I wanted it 2 levels. So also if you have something specific like that, think about that. There's some seating that's surrounded, so you have to be able to look to all sides. Do you want that? Do you want just outward? Yeah, consider all these things as you're booking your space, but also booking your space as early as possible is really
Please.
helpful.
Also, if you can sell out a space, all of a sudden your show's more buzzy, right? So that becomes more of a marketing thing of oh shoot, they sold out, I better buy my ticket for the next one right away, right? That starts to roll, so it often will work better in your sense. My case, I signed up late. I had the main stage Broadwater for my solo show. It was great, because I needed a playground for people to run around on, and kind of why I went with that space. But it's, I think I had to sell at least 30 plus tickets a show in order to break even on that. And that becomes, stressful as a solo producer and creator of a show. Right. So there's limits there, but I think I would almost go smaller and do more show dates. I think a lot of successful shows did that. And then often if you're selling out shows, the venue will offer you another date to extend your show as well. Maybe a few weeks after Fringe or when they have availability, but that often happens because you're going to sell tickets. And if you're selling out, likely they'll offer you another date. So depends on the venue, but that happened quite a bit if people are selling out shows.
And I had a solo clown show, which involved a lot of audience interaction. So I was specifically looking for an intimate space where I could, and also, spaces that had good access to the audience so I could interact with them more personally. So I looked for a smaller space, and it ended up being super strategic because then I would sell out because it wasn't that many seats. I think it was max 40. And then people would be oh, I keep seeing your shows sold out. And is it because of popularity? We have no idea. There wasn't places for people to be. But it made them want to look into later dates. And it just felt like it was hard to access. But I was at the Broadwater studio. Fantastic location. Really easy. But also think about if you ever want to film your show, it wasn't necessarily conducive for filming. So just also know the purpose. But my priority was live theater and that interaction with the audience. So that's what I prioritized in the space.
Yeah, and as we transition to, I just want to make one note too, something that I know we've talked about or I've heard is a good tip for Fringe too, is just maybe when you're budgeting, maybe try to budget that you're going to sell 40 to 60% of your house. So if you sell 100% of your house, slay, that's so amazing. Cool, happy surprise. But at least you budgeted for less, so you're not going to be super stuck in anything. But thank you all so much. And now we're going to transition to marketing. Okay, so I'm going to have some little spiel before we get into the questions again, and then we'll get started. So when it comes to marketing, you are responsible for your individual show. We, Hollywood Fringe staff here, market the festival as a whole. We have pull signs in Hollywood. We send out press releases, work on getting partners in the area, working involved with the festival, get our printed guide into local businesses, all that really fun stuff for the whole festival, but you are responsible for your individual show. Speaking of the printed guide is 100 pages of how to Fringe for audiences. Every show that registers by April 15th will have a text listing in the printed guide, which is included with your registration. We distribute the guide all around Hollywood coffee shop, bars, restaurants, all that fun stuff. You can also, on top of that, purchase and add in the printed guide with your show imagery, business information, all that fun stuff. Buying an ad is the only way you will have visual imagery in the guide. Again, you'll have that text description as part of your registration, but if you want visual imagery, you do have to purchase an ad. And that is a great way to show off your branding if you have any. Guide ads start at $125 for registered participants. More info again on hollywoodfringe.org/participants. We don't make any money off of this. We really do this solely to help promote your shows. The guide really does pay for itself. And also, it depends on your audience and your visual. If you don't really have, maybe the visual branding isn't like in your show isn't that important and you're kind of going back and forth, maybe the visual ad in the guide is not for you, and that's okay. If it is, maybe that's something to consider to put in your budget. All is good is just another option. You have so many to market your beautiful, amazing shows. If you want to have the inside cover or centerfold of the guide as your ad space, we will run a premium auction only for those who have already purchased a guide ad starting like late April. If you purchase an ad, you will automatically receive an email on how to enter. Again, make sure that email is correct and you check your inbox for that so you don't miss that if you're interested in that. Again, we're going to do some important dates. You must register by April 15th to be included in the printed guide with your text description. This means you've booked a venue and they've made a deal on the Hollywood Fringe website. And of course, you paid your registration fee to be a part of the festival itself. You must approve your printed guide listing and purchase plus upload any printed guide advertisements by April 20th. We will send all sorts of proofing information via email to look out for that. So again, update that email. Make sure you're registered for the festival before purchasing ads so you get that participant discount for 50% off the listed guide prices. You can purchase digital ads at any time leading up to the festival. We have all sorts of templates and information on our website, hollywoodfringe.org/ads, and you can purchase at hollywoodfringe.org/market. This includes Canva templates. We love Canva, which is completely free design software we recommend for you to use for your marketing materials. You can make postcards, social media posts, all that fun stuff. And again, about that participant packets, here's some more discounts in case you weren't aware. We have some discounts from graphic designers, Denim Adelaide, Julia McIsaac, Madeline Paley, Jenny McNabb. We have some printing discounts from two amazing local print shops, Minuteman Hollywood, Arnold the Printer. If you want to get the word out about your show through a special media package, reach out to NoHo Arts District, and special fringe event and marketing opportunities through the LA Female Playwrights Initiative, and so much more. Again, check out the participant packet. It has so much detail in there for you. Now, back to our incredible panelists. Let's talk about marketing budget. So how do you factor marketing into your budget? Is it a large or small percentage of your overall budget? What was the approximate percentage that you spent on marketing, do you think? I know it's a little bit of a thinky question.
It's been a year of sleep since then.
Right. Slumber, hibernation.
My recollection is that most of my marketing went into the creation of postcards, but also just like some kind of an object that I was able to hand out that was directly relevant to my show. I'm not throwing bubblegum pieces out at everybody and, having a piñata there. Oh, it's not a bad idea though. But did I just join a cult? That was my show last year. I thought, okay, what's going on? The color red was important in the show. So I bought 250 red glow sticks and printed the name of the show with a QR code on it and just handed them out at the shows. And that was sort of unexpectedly successful because I would hand this out to people and people would go, oh, did I just join a cult? And all of a sudden I realized, oh my gosh, wait, they're engaging me and this seems to work. And I didn't even think about that. Plus, everyone loves glow sticks. I just stumbled on that. All right. So it's like there are no dumb ideas. You never know. So I think it's like things like that. And you have to be, I say you have to be thoughtful about it. I didn't even think enough about how that would go. So what are you handing to a person? How does it directly relate to your show? How does it create an interaction with you? Is there a reason for someone to bring it home? I realized, oh, it's a glow stick. They can light their way to the car in the middle of Hollywood. That's not so bad. So use your imagination. And other than that, I put in some money into the impressions. I'm not actually sure whether or not that paid for itself, but they're so cheap that it kind of doesn't matter. You just want those impressions on the website to remind people that you're there. And then I don't know if anyone here or out in the world here has had experience with Facebook or Instagram ads. or just, anything that will tell people about your show in a non-obnoxious, fun way is where I would put your money. You put all this work into your show. It's why the studios put so much money into their marketing for their movies, because otherwise nobody sees it. I don't know if that was helpful.
It doesn't need to be a lot of money, but it
Yeah.
needs to be smart money, and it needs to be because marketing should be your number one priority, honestly, leading up to the show, but you can do it creatively. Like I made Ronald McDonald TikToks, and I would constantly be posting on Instagram. I do think it's a good idea to buy like Instagram ads, but I did that like right after my previews. You want to wait for like closer to, just because those are your friends that are probably like planning last minute with what their schedule is. But I still did like impressions on the website, and I did print a physical ad. And I'm not sure how helpful it was in terms of marketing, but it's also like your confidence in your poster. And can I say that the poster is actually so important? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I did busking, which is, I guess it was a new feature, right? Yeah. Yeah. So I went to most office hours. I cannot emphasize how helpful it was. It was just good to like talk to people that were experiencing similar things as you're trying to put the show up, but also like meeting new friends and whatever. Anyways, highly recommend. But every single office hour I showed up as Ronald McDonald. That's on me. Like nobody knows what I actually look like. But that was a form of already marketing my show, right? Like people are like, why is this freak dressed up as Ronald McDonald? And it's like, oh, well, let me tell you. And then I also, these are super cheap, but like hamburger gummy candies, I'd pass those out. And it's like so cheap, so easy in bulk. Yeah, right. Because they're like drinking too, and like a nice sugar rush is awesome. It's like your evenings during like a work week. So people are like, oh, thank God, like it's candy. And then you had a few people, they're like, I don't do gelatin. And you're like, that's awesome. Like, look at my makeup. But yeah, it's just something easy to come to. And it obviously has everything to do with Ronald McDonald. So I was literally, and honestly, it put me in a weird space, like character wise, like to be handing out hamburgers. But that's for me. that one was for the artist.
Quick note about that. What's interesting too is like that's already your costume for your show, and you're just already utilizing that for other events too. So you're really just you know what I mean. You're not going out of your way to do anything more extra. You're just kind of like, well, I'm gonna do this tomorrow night. I'll do it again beforehand. So that's a really cool idea.
The easiest way to advertise yourself. It's like, this is literally my show. Like it's me interacting with people. And that's what I did. And that became informative too, like how certain people interacted with me informed my show. But that's like, if you want to go there. But yeah, it's just like, might as well. It's like rehearsal time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a good number or not. I spent probably about 15% on marketing. I think that numbers probably should be higher. I think a lot of people will do like 40%. And I think that's numbers should be bigger. But I think you can, depending on how much like personal social media time and also like in-person time. I also spent a ton of time at the office hours. I had a laser cut sign made up and people started to recognize that. Some tactics that worked. I don't know if we'll jump to that later, but some tactics that work. We're talking about these gifts. Like, someone was giving out bracelets, and that was really powerful because there's something about like, so everyone's doing flyers, but there's something about like if you can have a conversation with someone and it seems like they're interested in the show, and then you can give them like one other thing, then there's this kind of like this extra step of them actually attending the show. And some of this, like, depending on how you're doing your marketing for like a smaller show, if you don't have like some wild like online campaign and you're doing a lot of like face-to-face marketing, more the money spent, I think, on this kind of like this direct connection with people, whether that's spending $1 on a thing you're giving them because you're going to get $15 or $20 back from them if you feel pretty confident, and that might be worth that, the value on that. And then, the online impression at the site. I think those are good because, again, I think most of your audience is the other fringe goers. Like is really what that's going to be. So I think a lot of that spend there, I think is good.
I'm sorry, just add one more thing, which is I just go into Fringe with the assumption that I'm going to lose money. So I kind of back into it by saying, how much am I willing to invest? It's not losing money. It's investing money in the materials of your craft and your art. That's how I view it. So if I decide, I'm willing to invest $2,000 and end up with a $2,000 deficit at the end of the show, then that will help me determine that marketing budget.
Oh, spend your money on professional photos for your poster. Like, get real photos taken. Like, if you have like it's if you have like a really good looking poster, like your show quality is already, this is probably an okay show because they put effort in the poster. You see some really janky Microsoft Paint style posters, right? And you're like, I'm not going to go to that improv show, like even if it's a different show, right? So I would put your money, like spend money on a good a photo shoot and a good poster design, whether you're skilled at that or you're paying someone for doing it. I think that's going to definitely be your best bang for your buck. To echo what you said earlier.
Yeah, you need one good poster. So whether that's a photo, whether it's you doing Canva, I have tried Canva for multiple years. I am not the best. So it's like, okay, do you want to go to a friend who's a graphic designer and, or give them some money and be like, hey, would you love to like help me with this? And yeah, just that one is going to be really helpful. And also, you can use it for your business cards. You can use it for the online thing, and you can use it when you text your friends the link and the photo to be like, link, photo. Oh my gosh, we still have seats available for these dates. Da, 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 da. But like just something easy that you can use on multiple platforms. So yeah.
And it also, you can be so strategic with your poster too. It's also like you might get pressured into like trends of posters based off of like your favorite projects or also what you start seeing other fringers do. I think this was true for like Edinburgh Fringe last year, but everyone had those weird recreation of like 90s family photos where they're like looking off into space. And when these are like posted all over the city and you're looking online and they all look the same, it starts to blend in with each other. Like have something that truly captures your show. Mine was my face like painted as Ronald, but I feel like it was like caught in a performance. Like it was like emotion. Like it was like, okay, so the face is telling the story. Like it gave you a perfect idea of what kind of show you're going to go into. It was like messy, sloppy makeup. It's like, okay, so this is like Ricky Dink put together. And it was like clearly about Ronald McDonald, but like, why is he so sad, So be strategic.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll continue on. These are all great points. One thing I do want to know about, I know, Larry, you mentioned QR codes. QR codes are great because they can be free, but make sure whatever like software website you're using, that's the case. Sometimes you do need to pay and then you have this cute QR code and you spend all this money on your postcards or you put on your poster and then someone scans it and it's like non-existent. So just like make sure like all of those things are tested out before you spend money investing into like printed materials or you start sending it to people. That would be such a bummer. You put all that work. But yeah, I would say, it seems like a good tip. You spend all this time and money on your show, but you need people in seats. So I think it's good to allocate a good portion of your budget into marketing. Let's continue talking about that. Who and how do you decide who you're marketing to? Does your show content topic play a part in the communities you market to? What are effective ways of doing that to fringers, outside audience members, outside community members, I should say? And how can you expand so you don't only rely on the fringe community and circle to fill your audience? These are all mini questions. But again, I think the big focus is like, how do you figure out what your audience is and how to get to them?
So this will probably be the most important thing I say tonight. And maybe then I'll just get up and leave. But so after years in many different industries, and I have friends in advertising, there are two questions that we all ask, usually unconsciously, but sometimes consciously, anytime there's any kind of incoming communication, whether it is an advertisement, something on social media, even if you are meeting someone for the first time, every single time there are two questions. And this is going to sound harsh, but it's real. And that's why I'm providing it. The two questions going through everybody's mind: who are you and why should I care? And that is the attitude that happens in marketing and advertising. If you ever watched Mad Men, for example, what you need to do when you are creating your image, your hero image, as they call it, your poster, your postcard, is to be able to communicate answers to those two questions. It's hard. That's why people in advertising make a lot of money, because it's a lot of people who are super creative in a room coming up with stuff. That's why when I say BMW, you know what their tagline is. You know what their slogan is. Really? The ultimate driving machine? Wow. Okay, maybe you don't.
Well,
all right.
Okay.
Wrong demographic, wrong audience, actually, right? Okay, see, that's actually great. So completely the wrong audience for that, right? So, but that's so in my experience, the idea is that when you're creating that image, clean, concise, simple, what tells your story with as little imagery and text as possible, like really whittle it down. So it's, name of your show, whatever your tagline is, a little slogan, and that's it. So it's really challenging. I was trying to think of an example on the way over to illustrate this. And I guess maybe some people have heard there was something going around about a bunch of college students who chose to live in IKEA, and they got away with it for a really long time. So suppose you're doing a show called, We Lived in IKEA. What I would do there is take a white background. I would say we lived in some kind of a colorful, playful font. I would take the IKEA logo, put it right under it. We lived in IKEA, and then have like little strings hanging down from one of those little Allen wrenches that you get when you go to IKEA. And each one is like, there's somebody swinging in a hammock that are connected. There's a TV and somebody watching the TV. You know what that show is. It's a comedy. It's fun. It's light. That's it. That's how you start to think. And it's really challenging and really hard because we all have something that we want to say with our show. And so we want to put it all out there. And it's counterintuitive, but you want to entice people and give them a sense of, I know what that is. I'm interested and go.
Yeah, to tag on to that, Larry, which is super, super smart. I saw Ryan Murphy speak. He came into one of the writing fellowships that I did, and he said that the first thing he thinks of when he thinks of a show is the poster, which is probably not the traditional writer, way of thinking, but he thinks of the billboard poster and then comes up with the idea behind it. So in thinking on your brand, mine was D&D Betches. So this is very clearly geek, nerd, which has a very beautiful and healthy population in LA. The cast I had was also in this world. There were people who would like to see this type of stuff on screen. And then on the poster, it's like, okay, this actor's face in a Mind Flayer outfit. This person is like an incubus or whatever your world is. You have a very clear idea of what it's going to be. What is the way to do it, and then reaching out to those communities. And even when you reach out personally to the people, be like, oh my gosh, I know you loved this board game. I think you'd love D&D Betches. So just kind of targeting, being like, you like nerdy, anything nerdy. You once mentioned Star Trek. I think you'd love this play. So yeah, just targeting that. If you wanted to, someone had mentioned to me oh, leave your little business cards at Geeky Teas or in spaces that are for your population.
All my advertising was, or not all, but most of it was focused on social media because I knew it was going to be my peers who would come to the show. And also I wanted it to be accessible to the assistant world or people that represent me. I want to make sure that they're showing that I'm doing for myself. And so I consistently made TikToks that weren't even part of my show, but that built this world, and it gave me more ideas of how to get people there. And then obviously just nonstop telling people about your show, posting about it all the time. And it's so annoying, but you have to do it. You have to do it.
I would also poll your friends too, tell them about your show and see kind of what communities you think would be.
Oh, did I broke it? Okay. So what I'll say is what did I say? I forgot what I said. You guys heard what we said. Talk to your friends. Poll your friends. Really, yeah. Talk to your friends. Thank you. Talk to your friends about what your show is, and then ask them what communities who would like to see the show, because a lot of things will come up that either they're involved in a community that you wouldn't have thought of or whatever, but just it's a really easy way to kind of all of a sudden you get these different demographics to hit.
To add to that also, for me, it's obvious, but I'll say it, which is you've got the 3 Fs: friends, family, fringe. That's really your audience. What I found, I'd like to know what you folks have experienced, but I found I have to harangue even my friends and family. The number 3, I got to hit them 3 times, and then maybe I've guilted them enough to come to see my show. And that's what works. The other thing is to keep track of the people that you solicit directly, and then you look at your total number of tickets, because then you'll be able to determine how your marketing efforts outside of your friends and family worked in the fringe community. Yeah, so the keep track of who it is that you contact in your friends and family group and by name, and keep track of who shows up to your show. And if you get, like I got 70 friends, I think, and family to come to my show, I sold 150 tickets. That told me that 80 other people outside of that group came to see my show, presumably fringe folks.
Yeah, keep a list. Make
Yeah,
them know you
then they'll know.
I mean, one
Naughty
way
and
you
nice.
could do that too, which I think, again, will be at the April 14th web session, talking more about ticketing. If you give your family, like, for example, you're talking about like your family, maybe you give them a very specific discount code. Only they know. And so then when you look at your ticket sales, you can see, okay, like so many people use this. That's a good way to like use it too. So that's another great to realize how your marketing is working with those codes as well.
Yeah, I had a code specifically for office hour things and like different events I would attend. You can get as specific as you want. I think I did too many, but because but figure out whatever your breakdown number is, and you can think of fun names for it and all that kind of stuff. But knowing where your marketing efforts gonna play, especially if you're running ads or whatever, you can have like $1 off code in there just to know that the ad's working or where the people are coming from. You can start to add little baits just so you can see where to put more of your time and effort or money.
Also, think about the places you frequent every day, like your own personal community, because I would just go into like my specific coffee shops or bookstores and be like, can I please put my poster up? And sure enough, there's a corner where like so many other Fringe Festival posters are. So get yours in first and last because people start posting on top of them. So just like keep stacking on top of that, make sure yours is at the tippy top. But yeah, I would just go to the places I frequent anyways, because that's your community. It's the people like for workout classes too, like a yoga studio you go to, if they have your poster there, like those are the people you take class with. These are your friends. Like you might not think automatically like these are my friends, but it's the people who they know of you probably are interested to know about more of you. Like my neighbor, I moved into a new apartment complex around the same time that I was putting up a show, and like I found myself in the laundry room telling like my neighbors about it, and they were like, what? That sounds crazy, Ronald McDonald. And some of them showed up, because you have to talk about your show too, and proudly like really sell it to people.
This is all great. I want to transition to our next question, which we've already touched on here. There's such great panelists. They're honestly answering all these questions. I'm like, oh my God, do we have room for anything else? One thing too about audience too is like, I mean, for example, I don't even remember. I did it, not Fringe, but I did a show that I was a part of, and I was trying to get people to come see the show. And then I kind of like forgot that I was like, oh, I did like a part-time fellowship at one point in my life. That was a couple of years ago. Maybe I should reach out to those people. I was like, hey, there's like an alumni community, right, that I'm totally reading those emails about and I'm part of. Is there like a way for you guys to like reach out to them? And they said, of course. No one really utilized that, and I had some of those people come to my show. So just think about those things too, things you've done in the past too in your audience members that you want to come, that you want to support. It doesn't hurt to try it. In the end, if they don't come, well, they don't come. That's all right. Next question. Office hours. We've talked about that a lot. Again, first one is tomorrow, 7 to 10, the Palm and the Pine. I'll be there. Office hours are so important to help with networking in the Fringe community, but it can also be intimidating to enter a new community and get to know people, market yourself and your show. Like that can be a lot, right? So what do you think makes a good elevator pitch? And do you have any tips for just like getting started with like kind of introducing yourself in these like new spaces?
I'm going to skip the elevator pitch. I bet one of these people have a better idea on that. But office hours, right? They're starting now, and then like what's going to happen is there'll be like basically this room, maybe double this room there, and then like a week or two before Fringe, it's going to just be packed with everybody. So I would put more of your effort towards just like becoming buddies with each other at this point, get to know each other, and like figure out how you can support each other now, and whether you're doing other stuff now, and then like ramp up that sales pitch and posters kind of towards the back end of it is kind of how I would do it. But I think it's really like the best thing about office hours is actually building the Fringe community. You'll have friends and you'll go to shows and stuff. I've seen people collaborate like six months later and do a show together and different stuff, right? So there's a lot of that comes out of office hours. But I think it's really like you're showing your show off to the Fringe community, but I think in these initial ones, I think it's really just kind of connecting with people. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my first office hours was so daunting. I remember walking up being like, I don't know anyone. No one's going to talk to me. It's like going on a date, except they don't know you're coming and no one's going to say anything. I was like, oh, and then you sign in, you get like a name tag, and then you're like, oh, the first 5 minutes might suffer. You might be like, oh my God, I don't know what to say to anyone. The best thing you can do is go up to somebody and be like, oh my gosh, tell me about your show.
Yeah.
What's your show? I'm Steph. Tell me about your show. I loved hearing about other people's shows to the point where eventually you have to become proud of talking about your own show. They're like, what's your show? I'm like, okay, hold on. Let me get a drink and come back with some water. And then be like, what's my show again? But yeah, I think the last few years have been so tough with the industry. There's the fires, the strikes, the pandemic, but the office hours are a really bright spot where you can connect in person with creatives, with people who are passionate about putting up their art, with people who are willing to come to watch these panels, to listen, to learn, and put their all into their shows. Like every single one of you at office hours is doing that. And that's just so magical. So I think just like when you think about that greater scheme, it doesn't seem so daunting to just like come on and be a part of it and give yourself grace if it feels a little awkward, if everyone else is standing in circles talking and you're like, I got to enter a circle. I got to talk to someone. Just go ask someone about their show. Yeah.
By the second office hour, there was also like kind of these people I kept gravitating towards who like ended up making a group message, and like we were on WhatsApp, also like an Instagram group where it became this support group of like, hey, are you guys going to this office hour? It's like, hey, actually, did anyone want to like go on a hike on Sunday just to decompress? I mean, it's just incredible. Like, because you want to be able to surround yourself by people who are experiencing the same thing as you, and you're all in trauma together, and you're like, oh, I don't know, I haven't slept, like I don't know where I'm at, especially like tech week. Like everyone will tell you about how their techs went, and that like not only informs how you want to do yours better, but also just like if yours goes bad too, you're like, yeah, same. Like I don't know where my show's at. And it's just really nice to like have that, community of people who understand what you're going through. But then you also meet people. A good friend of mine, Philip Riley, did a show at last year's Hollywood Fringe Festival. And we now have a podcast we're working on called Friends for Now, which is like kind of about us. And it's like, we met so many people at Fringe. We're like, wait, are these like friends for like ever or just now? And we'll go into it, but like Fringe was a part of that. It's like you're so close to these people, like, please get my tickets, like I love your idea, and they give you ideas on how to do your show better. And I recommend keeping touch with them, or else you might be on a podcast.
Philip Riley, like, yes, friendships. Philip Riley also like knew everybody. He would go dressed. We definitely did, I think, a comp swap. And he was just like always there, always in character. He was one of the first people I met because he too was standing there at the beginning of the first office hours. And we're like, da, 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 da. So yeah, and you'll start to see the same people. So if you go earlier, it'll get easier. And then the week before is just like intense. I actually had earplugs like behind my hair just because it was so loud, but you
That
could still hear
room.
the person. But yeah, the room was very loud. So I was like, but it was you just gotta go and like feel inspired, because this is really one of the only places and times, and they have this incredible structure for you. So yeah, just like savor it.
Go ahead.
What I realized was that we go to these office hours and the first inclination is to sell. And what I realized last year was, no, the point here is I love the French community because I don't think I've ever met such a diverse group of people from all different walks of life. Everybody's done vastly different things than I have. And I'm just there to meet people because I like people. And somehow during the conversation, eventually we get around to the shows. And I think that's served me well also in the real world, which is when you're trying to sell. It's not that it's disingenuous. It's just that it's more rewarding to actually form real connections with people. And then their interest in you or your show and your art is more genuine. We're there to give, right? That's sort of the approach that I prefer to take. And that, just to mention, showing up like in character, particularly if you're doing an immersive or an interactive show, that's always, I think, really good, especially if it's an interactive or immersive piece, because now you're giving people a flavor of the world that you might find intriguing enough to want to enter. And that's been done very successfully, at least for those genres in my experience.
Yeah, on that point, like same sort of thing. Like have a gimmick is fun. Like, and you can have it like it's like, especially if you're like a regular attendee of office hours, you can have like a reoccurring bit that kind of grows into something bigger, and then you become that person who does the thing. I have my show's just like 40 games in an hour, just smacked on top of each other, and like I was starting to do like I would grab like 4 or 5 people and have them play a game, and then also record that for social media, and then put that out and clip that out. But people then were looking forward. They wanted, I get to be on one of these games, right? And so you started to kind of do this stuff. People were excited about different people and characters or whatever, but people will remember that. I had a big sign, and people were like, oh, the sign, I know the sign, right? So there's something that, especially if you're a regular attendee of these things, there's something to do, and you can ramp that up as Fringe gets closer.
And if you have anxiety in social settings, the best way to have people approach you and ask about your show is if you give them something to immediately talk about, whether it's how you're dressed or what you're giving them. That was huge for me. Like, I would get really exhausted by the end of like office hours, but like I didn't need to say anything. People would come up to me and be like, Ronald, and I would just like hand them a burger, and like that was enough. They got it, But the trinket aspect, guys, really think on it. I have some really fun little doodads from everybody's shows, and it helps me today to remember. I'm like, oh, that's right. Like, I had a tissue pack for a while. Like, somebody, I forget whose show it was, but it was their show printed onto a tissue pack. Like, that's just like practical. Like, I had tissues for a year, and I was like, oh, this is somebody's Fringe show. Like, makes you think. Like, contact them. Like, hey, are you still doing that, by the way? Yep.
So fun. Yeah, please come to office hours as much as you're able to. I love those good points too. One thing, like every time you come, like if you're coming in costume, but also like if you're the primary producer and you have like a cast of like 5 or so, like see if your cast members can come in, see if like the whole team can come in. It's really important for everyone to be involved in the community. And also, so you're not overstraining yourself. If you have a big team and you're like, Jesus Christ, like I just have tech and I have all this stuff, but I really need to go to office hours. Maybe someone in your team can go and make sure everyone's on the same page about like an elevator pitch, log line. Remember, everyone else at office hours is also nervous. They're also freaked out. Don't worry. We're all on the same page. And if you are interested about an elevator pitch, one of the things that I like to do if I've ever like writing or trying to figure that out is like think about like your favorite movie and then go look up like the log line that they use for that movie. Go look up there, and then that's like a really good way to kind of base it off of. I'm going to come do a little spiel about graphic design and imagery and stuff, and then I'll combine 2 questions because you guys are just so amazing and answering everything I need you to answer. So Fringe announcement. If you want to do your graphic design, but you're scared where to start, like we talked about Canva, we talked about hiring graphic designers. Again, participant packet, we have discounts for that and people who work with us or working with participants. We have a handy blog post. Okay, well, I'll say the URL and then I'll say how to search it because it's a little confusing. We have a handy blog post, hollywoodfringe.org/learn/article/6781. You guys got that? Great. No. Or you could just honestly, this is what I did too to search to make sure like it's actually, you can actually find it. Just like go to Google and search Canva is your friend, Hollywood Fringe, and then that should have the blog post too. But that will give you a step-by-step process on how to use Canva. Canva is very user-friendly. If graphic design is not your passion, hey, I get it. One of my minors was actually like digital arts, graphic design, and I have a hard time with Illustrator and Photoshop, so I use Canva. We also have, again, graphic designers who offer their services at a discounted price and a participant pack if that's something you are interested in. But that all being said, I want to give an important note about copyright. Copyright, it does exist. That it's a big one, right? So be aware of the images, media, music that you use for your show. Music specifically in the participant pack. I know we actually talk about that. Make sure you have the rights for that. But with media, like if you don't own it, you make sure you have the rights. You have to purchase it, whatever that may be. Just be careful with that because it may come around and bite you in the butt later, and that's not very fun. But again, if you look at that blog post, if you want to hire a graphic designer, the ones that are a discounted price, that may be good because at least you own those imageries and you can have your really good poster and postcards you can put everywhere and spread around.
Can I actually share something about
Please.
IP?
Yeah.
So like obviously I don't own McDonald's like that. I absolutely not. So I had the M for McDonald's like in the poster, and then my show's just Ronald, but I never said McDonald's. And then I made it a bit in my show. Like anytime I would go to say it, I would have like a bleep played by my tech, and I had a disclaimer on my poster. Like every image of my show had and it was like faint. It was like kind of gray. You couldn't really see it, but it was like disclaimer, like I am not associated with McDonald's. I don't have anything to do with them. Like this is not theirs. Like I am writing a fine line. Now it is a goal of mine though to get a cease and desist, because that means they know I exist and that means I'm going somewhere. But until now, like you still have to like protect yourself in a way that's like I actually have nothing to do with them.
Thank you so much for bringing it up. Yeah, that's just one great example too. So just be aware of that as you continue your process with marketing and all that fun stuff. I'm hoping for that for you, Jenna. Cease and desist. Yes, we're all manifesting for you. That's so silly. Question. So physical marketing and also maybe like out of the box marketing ideas you guys have had. So, postcards, printed ads, t-shirts, hats, gum, tissues, like chocolates, whatever. I don't know, pencils, anything. We have seen plenty of creative stuff here at Hollywood Fringe. What do you recommend? And by the way, as we continue, we talk about branding and marketing. We recommend that you do add our branding on your like physical materials and really just like advertising materials in general, just so people know you're part of the festival and all that fun stuff. But if you decide to drop off like your postcards or poster at Hollywood Fringe, you do need to have the branding. Like other than that, it's just like highly suggested, but you do need to have it because we want to make sure we're actually like advertising Fringe shows. One of my jobs as a community coordinator this past summer was like at the end of the day going through all the postcards and being like, that's not a Fringe show. That's like a random thing, and making sure we're just promoting that. So, I hope I didn't take anyone's postcards that were Fringe shows, but if you didn't have the branding, I had to be safe about that. And you can always change the color and stuff too. It doesn't have to be the same black or white, whatever. Like if your poster colors are like blue and stuff, like maybe make it like a nice shade of blue, like make it work with your advertising. You can go to hollywoodfringe.org/branding to get all that information as well. But yeah, what do you guys think about that? Physical marketing, any ideas, tips?
Just at the very beginning, yeah, as soon as you can get the marketing for the Fringe shows, make sure to put that on your posters. I had an incredible graphic designer, Victor Nito, who's in Brazil, but was willing to do like a bunch of iterations. So we had a design, same picture, but like, okay, this one is the size for a text, or this one is the size for a poster, or this one is the size for a business card. So just having the same thing, but in different sizes is important. And I mean, Staples is a pretty cheap place to get some poster if you want like very inexpensive stuff, but there's also the local discounts. And yeah, just thinking about it, like how many posters do you really need? Okay, one for the off Fringe. For me, our show was one for the Fringe Central and one at the venue. I had others printed and I have them for my room if I need them. But like you really just think like really kind of think about, for saving paper, saving all this stuff. Also, a lot of people recommend business cards as opposed to full postcards because when you are trading, like they're just easier to have on you to be like, oh, if you meet someone in the laundry room or if you meet someone, in a lift or whatever, you're like, hey, I got my postcard. But those are a little easier, a little less. Yeah. So just think about that.
With respect to physical marketing, it's funny, my mind didn't go to the postcards. It went to actually being in person. And it goes back to that idea of what I said before about immersive and interactive entertainment, at least, but having someone in character there. And if you've got a show, the whole point is to create a moment or something that brings people into the world of your show. So in the future, if I'm smart enough, I'll try to have somebody from the show in a corner of the thing of the office hour space in character, having conversations with people, even if it's not necessarily an immersive show. If you've got a gifted improvisational actor, it'd be so weird if like you go to Fringe office hours, and they're like half the people there are just regular Fringe people, and everybody else is actually in character from their show, and so that turns into a show itself. I think it'd be kind of cool.
That was a show.
It was it really?
That was Xander's
Oh,
show.
that's right. Xander did that last year. That was great. That was true. He walked around as the person in the complaints department, right?
And then it was a really great way to interact with other Fringe
Terrific,
members
yeah.
because he had them come and do bits from their show as part of the interactive experience. So it highlighted other shows and then also got people to participate and care about Xander's. And
That was that was great. That was great. With respect to like the imagery, we live in a digital world, so it's those office hours where you're talking to other Fringe folks that having something physical to hand is actually almost kind of special. With respect to posters and postcards and things like that, there are plenty of vendors in town. I think there's some that work with Fringe. I just closed a show at the Eastwood, and I was looking for a place to print up posters or postcards really cheaply. And I found a place called U Printing, which is actually up in the valley, which is dirt cheap. I got 1,000 postcards, 4x6 for $90, which was insane. And I'm like, what? And I just drove over, picked them up. They were done in like 2 days. So no, they aren't paying me, but maybe now I should get it back.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And try busking. I'm telling you, it's so fun. It's not for the faint of heart, but also get into it. It's just a really fun way to literally show people a piece of your show. You can do it through the Fringe, but also go out there, do it anyways on your own. And I just had someone, like a friend, follow me and film some of the stuff too for like bits of content. And so it was a twofer. Like I got to try busking for the first time, but then also have like filmed content. But it's really not I don't know, it's a good bucket list thing to be brave enough to have people walk right past you, eat in front of you, maybe be sick in front of you, and you're just trying to tell them about your show. Like once in a lifetime, I say.
Do the door, volunteer to do door for other people, because you got a line, because again, the hardest barrier, again, I'm just going to rail on this, like the hardest barrier to get to is get someone to go to a show and understand what a Fringe is. It's a lot easier to get that audience to come to another show. So if you're doing door, people are just waiting for 15 minutes and you're their entertainment, right? And you can, oh, by the way, I have another show or whatever, right? So I know Mark's Best Man show, he was really all around the Broadwater, really working those audiences, and he sold out all his shows, right? So like really like those, you can flyer those audiences and people online, certain theaters, you can check with certain theaters if they want that or not, but really work those lines of people and volunteer to help people do door, because then you just have a captive audience just chilling for 15 minutes and they have nothing to do and will be there to like listen to your show. So like, and plus you're helping out another Fringer, because again, the community piece of Fringe is really important. It's really how you can increase your numbers for everyone.
And I love what Joe said. Just remember, this is an exercise to build your stamina muscle and being able to pitch your show. If someone doesn't want to come, that's okay. They rarely reject it to your face, but like put yourself out there. Practice doing that. In this industry, you're going to want to do that anyway. And Fringe is the perfect environment to do that. I admire you for doing that for 15 minutes, being like, all right, captive audience, who's coming to my show? And one other thing that I did, if this counts in this question, is film little bits of rehearsal or things going wrong or right. And then I put it together in a reel. I do not love social media. Like I am not the best. It doesn't make me like feel really good all the time. But I really enjoyed making this to see from start to finish, like, oh, just like 1 second clips of like from scripts, working with design, working with the cast, to getting the like some silly, fun, beautiful props, to like one of my cast filmed me, and then I was on the floor with Pages, like squatting, and she was like, so, hey, how do you feel, director? And I was like, and then that was a really fun moment for us. So I guess just like capture the thing along the way. And then if you make a quick compilation, just show people your journey and what you create. So whether or not they come to see your show, they can see the process of what you did in order to put it on. And that is one piece of social media that I actually like, oh, I really love our talented cast. I really feel proud of this, and then you'll have that for you.
Yeah, on that same line, like if you have the budget, like at your first show or even a preview show somewhere else, like get some video and get that edited right away, and like to create this kind of like, because in regards to like getting like comps as well and stuff, like if you have a good show and you know you have a good show, get people in there because people are going to talk to the other people in Fringe, right? So you really want to push your effort into getting people into that front show. And if you film that first show and you can edit it quick enough, now you have just all the social media content you really need to kind of create this like, oh, I actually want to see that show. Like
Preview.
for the preview, yeah, like likely for the preview would be ideal because then you have that footage, or if you even do it, if you have it before Fringe too. But likely, yeah, I filmed my first show and pulled some of that content.
You guys are so amazing that my next question is actually about digital marketing. So we're going to continue this conversation. But one thing I wanted to mention too is like, yeah, I think postcards and poster, I think those are very solid. Personally, you know, you don't need to invest too much. You don't need to buy like 1,000. Like, you know, maybe start small. That's okay doing that. Try to get them out first. And if you need more, you can always get more. I think another thing too, now I'm going to share a personal anecdote. It's a little obscure. When I was in college, when I did my show, so it's a different community there. But one of the things I did to raise money for my show was I sold tamales. I make tamales. Yes, I did, Roddy. And so I did it within my community because I knew my school community would come to support me, and if I would support their shows, they were also doing Fringe shows. So I was like, if you buy a dozen from me, you get a free ticket to my show. You clear, here's a code, blah blah blah, whatever. Obviously, that's a very like obscure thing, but that's like a random skill that I know that I can do. I know some people who are like more on the crafty side. So maybe I'm not saying necessarily to do this, but maybe it's like I know I can make bracelets. Or I can make little like keychains. I can do that, and I have the materials, and I'm okay with doing that. Maybe that's a great way to like utilize multiple skills, and you're kind of depending on yourself, and you can use that as like physical material too. It's a little bit out of a box way. It was kind of fun. If anyone decides to sell tamales for their show, send me some. No, I'm kidding. It's my idea. No, I'm teasing. but yeah, it was a little obscure way to do it. But you know, there's multiple ways to get the word out there. It's okay to try things. Fringe is for that too. We'll continue. Let's go into digital marketing. I mean, yeah, did you use social media? Did you do it paid advertising on social media? If you put, let's say you had Instagram, did you use your personal Instagram account? Did you make one for your show? How did that work for digital advertising for y'all?
I made a social media account. I made a bunch of social media accounts for my show to begin with. So I immediately the only thing I haven't done is made a separate email. I don't know why, but it's on my personal one, but like, something to think about. But I immediately made an Instagram, made a TikTok, and then any sort of like busking, or even I would film myself at office hours too. Like just go, because it's all here in Hollywood too. So you have a good opportunity to interact with not just like other fringers, but then like so many weird people who are in Hollywood, and just like filmed as much as I could and would post bits. And then like I did too much, I think, like saying with like TikTok trends, I'm like, oh, I'll just somehow apply this to Ronald. And I just like kept making content for it. And the more I annoyed people with it and kept posting it, the more they were expecting it. And then it's like, well, then they just come see the show at that point, you know? But just like as much as you can. And also it'd be nice too to like backload yourself, like give yourself like 5-6 different clips to post throughout the week. So that way you don't have to think about it too much, like day of, like, I know I need to post something. Just like do it over the weekend so you can do it during the work week.
I think it depends, right? I also made my own Instagram account, but you also have to build a new audience as well with that, right? You already have however many like Instagram followers you are. So it really depends on how you're going to do your social media. If you're going to go really hard on social media and you know it's stuff that like, I don't want to do this to my friends, like maybe you make the account, right? But otherwise, like just being like, okay, it's June, it'll be done, whatever. Like you can reutilize that kind of thing. The other reason to make an account is if you're doing other festivals or really pushing the show out or doing another thing and you're going to do a bigger thing, like that's another thing. I made a website that I still haven't made the website for, but you can for $15 a year, gameshow.com, right? And that'll just redirects right now to a link tree, which will eventually be a website to redirect to the bigger version of the show. But that gives you kind of an easy way. Like, so I think that's a good marketing thing too, is just get a simple website. You can say, just go gameshow.com. There you go. It goes to wherever you need to go. Like they could scan a QR code, they can do a couple things, but that's an easy fee that is, and if you don't know anything about websites, you buy the URL and then you copy paste the URL you want it to go to and you're done. It's really how that would work.
Oh, I really admire you, Jenna and Joe, for making social media accounts for your own show. I didn't do that because I find it already overwhelming because I was like, oh, we're gonna do actually, we're gonna do blue sky, and then I just don't post. So I didn't, but I did make sure to tag all my friends, tag Hollywood Fringe, like hashtag what you're doing, hashtag the community that you're reaching out to, and I think just posting the process along the way, it's pretty awesome. You're in Hollywood, you're creating a show. There's so many people who would want to be in your position to be able to put up their work here. And I think documenting the journey along the way, it's not just bright lights and applause. It's all of the stuff leading up to it. It's like getting caught in the big movie premieres. You're trying to get to the Fringe Central and like lead to office hours because you can't get around the gates because they've closed off Hollywood Boulevard. But like that stuff is fun. And I think remembering that and putting that up along with the professional photos or whatever that you have. I think highlighting your cast if they're super talented, like, or a writer's process or a director's process or a first-time person's process. And you really have no idea how your show is going to play until the first night anyway. So I think it's all just really exciting and aim to put that feeling and energy behind the social stuff that you do. So regardless of whether people come to see your show or don't, you're spreading your essence and your brand in this type of marketing so that they know the type of person you are and putting your stuff forward. And they're going to admire you. It is hard to do what you do. So it's really brave to do that.
Yeah, quickly on that point, don't worry about like posting too much, and because just think about all the garbage you look at on Instagram. Right. Like anyone actually putting effort towards a thing, like it's okay. It's better content than people are looking at. So feel free to put all of your own garbage in front of them because it's probably quality garbage, So yeah. So don't worry about that aspect of
At
it.
least you're doing something.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
One of the challenges we have is that I'm a data person, so we don't have access to data in terms of the effectiveness of any of these different marketing channels. So
Actually, if you do a business account on Instagram, it'll actually break down people that are visiting your
okay,
account.
thank you. I'm a Luddite, so yeah, way better resource there. We don't have the data that I could use to make firm decisions about what's working, what isn't. But I love what you just said because, and this was going to be my closing statement, which is at the end of the day, we all want people to come and see our work. We're sharing parts of ourselves, parts of our essence, our soul, the reason we're here. But in my experience in television, theater, everything, at the end of the day, it's never the product that's mattered to me. It's never been the show. It's been the process. And all the fun stuff and the people I met and the creative lessons that I learned. Like I said, I just closed a show at the Eastwood. We ran for 6 weekends, 12 shows, and it was a lot of fun and it was great. But the best part, as someone who came late to performance and acting, is just spending time with all the actors and the director and picking up everything I was picking up from them. So the idea that you're sharing parts of who you are through your digital marketing, if that's fun for you, I think that's great because there's nothing better than to show people the person that you are, not only through your art, but through the marketing that you do, whether it's related to your show or not.
Yeah, these are all great points. The business cow is really good too if you're trying to look at those like analytics and stuff. Facebook's a thing. Instagram, you can schedule posts ahead of time. So if you you're like, okay, I'm going to have a busy week, but I really need these posts to go out, just schedule ahead of time. And then it's going to go out. What's another thing too? You can collaborate with other posts, right? So let's say like Joe has maybe you have your personal Instagram account and you have your game show one. Maybe you collaborate it. Now both audiences are seeing that post, hopefully. All the beautiful garbage that you're creating.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. So everyone can see it. So those are some tips with digital marketing too. I think now it's getting a little bit more, you plan ahead a little bit more. It's easier. Stories are great too. So if you feel like people didn't see your post, share it on a story. Again, Hollywood Fringe, if you've noticed on our Facebook and Instagram accounts, I'm always sharing things because I want people to see it. So we work very hard. It's the same thing. It works. It really does work though. Any
recommend,
listings?
Yeah, leaning on your community. So, like, when you go to office hours, like, go ahead and post a story on either your show's account or yours, just like people know that this is like a Bruin. But also, like, if you've got a cousin who, like, is in college for marketing but hasn't graduated yet and would love an internship, totally hire them to be your social media because you don't want to do it. They don't ask for payment. And you're like, yeah, when my show's successful, blah, blah, blah. Like, would love to budget an income for that. But, like, yeah, reach out to your cousins.
Also, post about each other's shows. Again, the community, like, do that. Like, you'll see this with anyone who has a successful, like, Edinburgh run or is doing it. Like, they'll be like, these are the 10 shows you need to see at this festival. And what's cool is people repost that. So then people are going to come back to you. Like, you helping other people is going to get more people to your show, regardless of just the nice thing of helping each other. Again, I'm just grinding down on this community thing. Like, that really is the value of the Fringe Festival, is like promote each other's stuff, because it'll come back to you as well.
That's a great point. Absolutely. Yeah. Fringe community is so big, so helpful. We really support each other here. I'm going to do a little mini announcement about some upcoming programs we have this year. And then I have like 3 little quick questions. Like, you know, obviously I want y'all to answer it, but then we can make room for a Q&A afterwards as well. So, Fringe announcement. We have some opportunities for artists to market their show throughout the festival programs. Some of these are like newly modified opportunities. Some are tried and true. So we're excited to share it for HFF25. Again, speaking of digital marketing, use that hashtag HFF25. Lightning round. This program will be a compilation of 15 seconds to say your favorite line from your show, all posted onto our Hollywood Fringe Instagram page. Busking, better than ever. We're bringing it back. We have some new ideas. We want to venture a little bit outside of Hollywood to get a new audience. So just, you know, again, if you register with us, you sign up for our emails, you'll get more information in the near future. Cabarets, runway, the poster and postcard drop up that we were talking about earlier with Fringe, and guidelines. And Roddy, this is correct, right? Posters no larger than 11 by 17, and then 40 postcards max. We just want to make room for everyone. And again, office hours running through the start of the festival. Yeah, and we have, like, I think, again, all 9 upcoming should be hollywoodfringe.org/events. So those are some fun programs, really great way to network and get to know your community. That, again, will be the biggest supporters throughout this whole thing, and people you support as well. So question, these are some last 3 ones to get through so we can do our incredible Q&A. As a member of the Fringe community, what makes you pick a Hollywood Fringe production to see? Like, how does the show stand out to you?
Somebody who doesn't talk too much about their show and shows you instead. Usually the people that have the most to say about their show don't have a lot in it to show, you know? It's the people that, like, you know, you see are constantly showing up to the events. And that's also the cute, like, these two, like, this information, like, people who deeply care about doing all the other stuff along the way. The rest of that's gone.
If I am having a conversation and I just really connect with this individual, or that inexplicable thing that happens when I see an image or the thing and it's like, oh, which is just ephemeral, you know, it grabs me for my own personal reasons.
I think in person, I want to support this person. I've seen them at office hours. I want to go see their show. This thing sounds really fun. Or if it like hits a value of mine that I think is really cool and I want to see that art, because that's also what the Fringe Festival is for, is to put up art that you might not get the chance to see in mainstream media. And on that, I will say at office hours when you're marketing or when you're doing comp swaps, make sure you respect each other's thing. And if you say you're going to go. Because I remember one time we had a sold out show and we had to deny people tickets, but like people who I gave comps to didn't come. So just respect like that, you know, show up for your friendships here. Yeah.
Just tips. I know. Oh yeah. I don't. I mean, tips is a different question. I just because that's you can also do like more like rush ticketing kind of thing too, or like you let fringe artists come in if there's a space as well on that sort of thing. Yeah, just on that point.
And something I didn't make sure you're very clear in your marketing what your show is about, right? Like, it's okay. Like, it, you know, sometimes maybe your show talks about very like dark topics, which is great. And like, there's an audience for that, people who like really vibe with that. But maybe there's some people who don't. And that's totally fine. That's okay. So like, as you're meeting the Fringe community and you're marketing, like, make sure you're really clear about it, because like, you know, if someone's like, oh, like, I want to support you. This sounds really incredible, but it's not really a show for me. That's okay. At least you were clear about it before they come and sit in your seat. Maybe they don't have a great experience, right? Next question. Do you have any mistakes that you've made that might be valuable to share with this group? Anything you recommend participants skip or do?
Get help. Like especially if you have a solo show, like find a friend to whoever it is, even hire someone, whatever. That's a good place for your budget. Like if you can have help, it'll go a long way. I think my show would have been a better show had I had, because I did the producing in the show, right? So what'll happen is you'll stop doing the creative because your time is in the marketing, right? And so there's this really big balance, and that's gonna increase on both ends as a show date gets closer. So I know everyone's probably like creating their show right now as well, but also as much as you can while the waters are calm, like create your marketing material now. And also start even thinking about like, okay, here's how I'm going to deploy this kind of stuff so that you can have kind of all your templates and whatever done. That way, when it comes to it, it is just kind of like go add in the video clip or whatever it is you're going to do, or just change the title and the dates or whatever. But the more that you can do up front, whether that's someone helping you do it or just doing it now, because trying to figure that all at the same time while you're creating your show and doing all your stuff, if you don't have that help or haven't done that pre-homework, something's gonna give. It's gonna either be your marketing's not gonna be as good, or you're gonna pull away from the creative in your show itself. So just do that. But if you can get help and people are willing to help you, if you ask, it's very difficult for me to get help, but people want to help, so like reach out to people and figure that out, how you can ease some load on that. It'll go a long way because the couple weeks you do Fringe becomes very stressful if you're doing a solo show and have to do all this marketing effort and then do the show, and you're stressed because there's one person pre-sold tickets and then people do show up, but like there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of emotions, mixed in with what you're creative. So do the prep, get some help. It goes a very long way.
Less is more, and that goes across the board. No matter how long your script is, it can be cut. No matter how complicated your production may appear to be, it can be simplified. No matter how complex or pulling your hair out, if you're really pulling your hair out, just simplify it. Because I guarantee you, as maybe the oldest person here, that at the end of the day, people are here for the drama or the comedy or the story. I guarantee you 90% of shows could be done right here in a black box because it's about the human experience. So when you find yourself spinning out over stuff, stop, cut everything in half, and you'll suddenly feel a lot better. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I think the biggest, I mean, there's so many mistakes you make, but I think we put so much pressure on ourselves when we do this show. It's like, oh, we've got to do all of these things. But I think breathing and doing that self-care, whether it's like, okay, I need to go to my car for 5 minutes during office hours and then I'll come back. Like I have my snack and my water in the car, and then, or just like having some scheduled time where you're not working on the play and then you can just relax. I say this, but I didn't do it. But I say it because I think it's important and it's what I would do instead. Because it's so quick, right? Like the show starts, show's over. Oh my gosh, yeah. So like kind of savor it along the way because this is what it's. A play is not forever, right? Also, if you can video or hire a videographer, that is worth. I think it's worth the money. There's plenty of veteran Fringe videographers that are, I would say, relatively affordable. That to just like have capture some essence of it for yourself because you put all this work into it. And one thing that I really loved was having the same bar or restaurant bar to go to after every show. Just be like, hey, the cast and I, we're all going to go there. We'd love for you to join us so that people can all hang out and meet each other. Everyone, most people are friends of friends. So I think having a tradition like that, we went to St. Felix because it was one of the Hollywood the Hollywood Fringe Festival places for office hours, and I really like the space and talked to the manager. And so like I brought in like crowd crews of people after every show, and then it just starts to feel like something familiar. And I think just creating that is a special thing that you can do, and curating for your audience. Like, hey, we're going to go hang out here afterwards. Also, then when you hit up your friend, you're like, oh, well, this friend's coming on this date. Do you want to come on this date too? Here's the link for that date. And then they can come and hang out with each other too. Yeah.
I'd say set aside like 10% of your energy after shows to like reflecting on it and what could you change for the next. I do think that like this isn't like, like the end all platform of your show. This can be just the beginning too of like how it's ever going to evolve, where else you're going to put it up, and how it can change. So you have to give yourself that time, and like I know a lot of us like black out when we perform, but you gotta like key in or watch that video of your performance to be like, what was the audience feeling in this moment? Like, were they buying this? And like, if you can, if you're comfortable, I recommend, I mean, mine's a clown show. So like, there's a certain part of improv and I could adjust along the way. I know like it'll be different with like tech and all of that, but like, what could you improve for the next performance? What could you do differently so that way you have an improved experience, like it's all a work in progress, really. And you can always have a better show. Like what you're putting up is, I think it takes a lot of pressure off to think that it's not the final product. Like you don't have to be absolutely like 100% like this is the best thing you're ever going to spend your money on and produce. When you get to Hollywood Fringe, like your show's ever changing and it can always be better.
These are all great tips. Thanks, you guys. And yeah, that's true here at Fringe. Like, we want you guys to soar afterwards. We want you guys to spread your wings. Please continue it. And I mean, just something I want to mention too, make sure you're having fun. It's going to be stressful. It's going to be stressful. Yes. And these are all great tips too. Like get help, like, have some me time, like all this stuff. Enjoy the experience. You're doing it for a reason, right? We all love the arts. We want to be here. We want to be a part of that community. Just make sure you remember to enjoy it as well. There's nothing wrong with that. Last question before we start this Q&A. If you could give one piece of advice, it doesn't have to be marketing related, just like Fringe related, what would it be?
You're building the plane in flight, and you're probably falling off as it's happening. So just enjoy the ride. This is supposed to be fun, and it's an opportunity. It's really view it more as like a workshop of something that's going to be small and easy and fun, and take away lessons from it for the next show or a show for some other experience.
I think figure out what's important to you or where you want to spend your time. So, for example, I was very clear. There is no furniture leaving this. Like they have some stuff that we can use, and it's all going to come from the stuff we can use. We're going to have our costumes, but that's it. That's all we're bringing in, because I did not want the pressure of 15 minutes, like load in, load out of like a bed and a dresser and a whole room. Although some people do have elaborate sets, that's amazing. But I didn't want to do that. I spent time on the sound cues, which were super fun. And I think really elevated. I was like, earthquake sound, sound of dice, sound of coin, sound of this. So we had a bunch of fun sound cues that I think made our show fun. And then obviously the actors were so talented to like implement the sound cues. So figure out what is important to you to do. But yeah, like ideally, your story can be put in a Fringe type environment, which is like a black box theater plus, something simple that you can come in and come out with and share the stage and convey your message and have it be enjoyable for you to enter and exit, and your sound cues.
I think it's just a mentality of this is the beginning. It's going to be the most helpful for you. And I hope that everybody's show lives past like the Hollywood Fringe. And once you get through this, I don't know if it's some of your first Fringe experiences. I know that this one was mine. It will only ease the process if you do a Fringe of another city, or if you even want to take it like to global Fringes, that this is just fantastic training wheels on how to operate yourself in future festivals and how to put up your show.
Fringe audiences are super friendly, right? Like there are other artists generally or people who support artists. So like you can lower the bar of stress on that. Like you can really just put up a show. If people are coming to a show, they want to support the arts and have a good time. So like wherever you are with your show, like it's okay. And what's cool is you probably got 4 more shows afterwards, and you're going to run through it and you can take notes on it. But really just like, get to where you're going to get to with your show, and then just enjoy it, because yeah, you're in a good room of people.
Thank you guys. All great advice. And let's get started this Q&A. Does anyone have any questions in this room? Okay,
Right, yeah. Cool. So just a reminder, because of the live stream, you need to get really close and just speak very clearly. And also feel free to shout out your show because that starting now. And your name.
Yeah.
That would also be nice. Hike, do you wanna?
Yeah, thank you for all this helpful information. My name is Hike, and my show is called Best Dad Never. I'm thinking of bundling tickets. For example, one ticket's $10, 4 tickets would be $30. A, is this possible on the Fringe site? And B, did any of you do that, and how did it work out?
I didn't do that. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, I'm Jen. I'm one of the venue managers, so I knew of a show that did that. Did any of you guys do that?
I think if it was through not the Fringe, I didn't set it up on the Fringe website. So if it was someone just buying tickets from me, I would be like, oh, I can, work with you on that. If you buy X amount,
Yeah, are you asking about like group tickets or like different levels of tickets? So there might be a way to do that on the Fringe site. There was a show that they had like a fundraising component in their ticketing, and so you could get like a regular price ticket, and then it gives you levels that you can do on the Fringe site where you can do like a regular price ticket or like the fundraising ticket, and then it was this much, and you get something else. Like she was giving something out at her show, so it might be a situation where you can do that. You might have to work with support but yeah, I know it's been done before, and it worked really well in that particular instance for that show, so maybe
That actually sparked an idea, which is if you've got a show and you've got one or two or other shows that maybe are similar in theme or that people you just like, I don't know if you can do it, but the idea is like buy tickets to all 4 shows for a discounted price, something like that, and that creates
Yeah, the chat can't see me. So Roddy here, speaking on the Fringe staff side for bundling tickets, and also this extends to buy one, get one free tickets. Our site can do a lot. It unfortunately at this time can't do buy one, get one free tickets or like that bundle kind of thing. It's like the next year thing. We're currently redoing the site, which for those of you 4 panelists who saw it, we have drop-down menus now. Feels like a game changer. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but I love it. And you got a question over here.
There might be ways of because can you create your own tiers, like your own Smith? So a way to like kind of make it work is you could probably make a tier saying 4 tickets, like that's the tier, right? And if they purchase that tier, would that no? Okay, so it's not directly in there. Okay.
Hi, my name's Edward. My play is Fool in the Pool. I play a former child actor turned karaoke host. You should all come. It's going to be super fun, but dark. I have 2 questions. One is in regards to the office hours. This feels very daunting because I'm not really like there yet, like I don't have my cast yet. I don't have my poster yet, all of that. So tomorrow it feels like tomorrow. So I'm just wondering, when do you recommend is the best time to go? Does that like throw that out the window? Just go
tomorrow, make your cast tomorrow. Hire the people that show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the people who are going to come see your show are not coming because of the cast or the poster. Right. They're going to come because you're there and you talked to them on the first office hours, and and it sounds really fun, and they want to support your show and you want to see theirs. And so yeah, you don't need to have any of that. My script wasn't finished when I went to the first one. I started to feel more pressure, but it's like, oh, so yeah, just go, because it also relieves a lot of pressure. Like, oh, everyone's in the same boat. We're all working on something together. So
yeah, I think tomorrow's, like these early ones, aren't really for marketing your show. It's for connecting to the community who are going to help you later, right? So who got the cheapest postcards? Like who's doing that, right? Like there's things like this that you can ask this community. Like it's like, or like, that you'll figure out, or even create that WhatsApp group or whatever that is. That's what these early office hours are for. And then as that starts to roll closer, then it kind of shifts more into advertising.
And my next question is just about the ticketing stuff. When did you guys start incorporating that and like doing the discounts and the comps? And did you solely use the Hollywood Fringe, or did you go to a secondary ticketing source? And if so, who did what was advantageous. I'm not quite clear as to why I'd want to go to a secondary ticketing source if they're taking some of my, profit or whatever.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to go to a third-party site, like we say, because of the target audience for the festival. You only need the Fringe site.
See, the only advantage of it is like you can set like a percentage of your ticket sales. You can say like, okay, I want 70% of my sales to be basically if you do an external site, right? And let's say you have a 50-seat venue, you can say you can give 20 tickets out to one of these external sites for a second. Some of them do like these like half off day of sales that have like their own marketing thing. I tried one of them. I think I sold one ticket on it. So like I didn't really get much use out of it. Some people do find good use if you can get on like a gold star or one of these like day of kind of like 50-50 things. But so that's kind of the reason why you would do one of these stuff. But you got to be really smart about like how many tickets am I allotting to that? Like you can say, okay, I'm only putting 10 and there's going to be 10 of these like 50-50 sales on this special site for the day of stuff. However it is. So it's another mechanism to use if the place you're putting has a strong like advertising place on its own. Otherwise, if it's coming through your marketing, it probably just makes sense to go through the Hollywood Fringe site.
I haven't used third-party ticketing for Hollywood Fringe, but I do it for my own personal comedy shows that I host, and it's really helpful to reach communities that you don't currently have access to. So if you want people, that don't normally come see your shows to come see it, that would be another reason to do it. But you already have that built in with the Fringe community. I can't tell you how many people who normally wouldn't come to my shows did because of office hours. And it's like people who maybe know the theater, like the Broadwater, like they work with them already. So they're already looking at what new shows they put up. But that brought a whole new genre of people to see my shows versus like maybe like the 3 or 4 comedy clubs I usually like frequent.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I also put tickets up on like Eventbrite for a second too, because they have their own advertising. So you can see what are the events today, right? Like so, like you can do again. It's the same sort of thing. Like if you think you're going to be redirecting it, but again, you want to. The difficulty is you want to make sure you don't oversell. So you got to be very smart about how many you're allocating. You got to keep track of that stuff and disable platforms when your show is selling out or that kind of stuff. So you have to manage that, but you can get a little bit of free marketing with those platforms. But yeah.
Hi there. My name is JR. My musical Saturdays at 10 a.m. is about an animation studio trying to get a new Saturday morning cartoon out the door after their director gets arrested for sex crimes. I'm probably going to be playing the sex criminal. I'm sorry. Anyway, so you mentioned that office hours are starting. I think weekly office hours are starting, and we've been doing monthly for the last couple, and the plunge is kind of already bursting at the seams. So my question is, as this gets busier and notably louder, and the conversations go from fun small groups exchanging stuff to people trying to shout over each other at a couple feet away. I guess how is that going to play with what you're saying in terms of the ways that you stand out? And is this, admittedly because it's my first Fringe, is this going to become a bit of an arms race as the next weeks go on, or is there? I don't know. I guess how do we be in this space as things get louder and harder to communicate? Please.
So one of the reasons why I was there all the time too. So one of the reasons why we're talking about like being so loud, not necessarily at the bar, but like at the Fringe Central space specifically, it got very loud. We try soundproofing. We'll try harder if that becomes the case for other events. It didn't really work out that well. The weekly office hours we're talking about for like the next 9 ones, like those we're thinking about, they're actually going to be at different bars and different locations. So for example, I just like pulled it up to make sure I was like correct. So like tomorrow I'll be at the Palm and the Pine, the week after Desert 5, week after St. Felix, after Palm and the Pine. So, I mean, I suppose like in bars and stuff like that, it is going to be kind of loud. And it's, if you've ever been out at a club or a bar at 9, you're like, hey, how are you? Like, it might be like that. But if I'm not wrong, one of the sound issue was specifically at Fringe Central. That's not really going to be as much as an issue. And, you can always like leave your drink. I used to be like a bartender, so leave your drink and then you could walk out and everything, and that becomes an issue there. But yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Also, just get there early, and or I guess late is the other one. And then there's always some part in the bar that is like, the uncool kids table. It just it's like there's nobody there, and you just go there and hang out, or bring a megaphone. Yeah, either one.
Yeah. It's not like Friday.
All right, these are more spacious than Plunge, I take it. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'll hand this off.
Just because then the chat can't hear me if I'm not with a mic. I will say the way that the office hours are set up is they're built to scale. So, at our first office hour, we may see about 75 fringers. And in that May buzz, it kind of goes to 150 to 200, in which case we know a couple of larger bars that we talk to. And we actually have some new bar partners this year that are quite large. So it's going to be great. So that doesn't happen. And yes, to the 4 panelists who experienced last year, there are no office hours at Fringe Central. We're doing a ton of different things there that we'll let people know about further down the line. If I can jump to the next question, because I want to get everyone's questions answered. I believe we're going over here.
Obviously, you're not a bar flunk. The question I want to ask is the most important thing for me. You can't hear me without. Oh, thank you. Like my biggest thing is, like I do solo shows now. I did a lot of play, but my biggest nightmare in life is that nobody shows up. My second one is that one person shows up. Now, do you have a thing when they used to do play? I haven't done a play in a long time, but we used to have a thing that we would. There was a group of people that would come to plays. Like if the play, there was a lot of room in the play, say it was half full, they would come to the play. Like do you have a thing is like people, all of us that are doing pieces, that if a show isn't that crowded, that you could send out messages, if you want to go to the show, just go to the show.
Peter, I think what you're talking about is what some of the panelists have talked about as well, which is like rush ticketing. And that's kind of a thing where June will be really busting at the seams with all these bars and restaurants and theaters, like having people coming out. Roping them in last minute will work. There's no necessarily like function in the site that allows for rush or late, like immediately coming in. Like I think like Today Ticks maybe has something similar where they're like rush day of. You can do that on your social media posts and say like, oh, for today only, or like for this performance, this ticket is $5 cheaper than what it normally is. And then we can talk a little bit more about that as well. But that's, I believe, maybe what you're getting at. And right now the Fringe website doesn't have that built in. And then I'm going to pass this to Dee, and then we'll just kind of move this way because I forgot the order I created.
Hi, I'm Dee, and my show's Me, Myself, and Other, about how being othered all my life prepared me to deal with this little guy I'm sitting on. I wanted to find out, we were looking through the tickets, and this is my director, Maggie, and scholarship mentor, TL, and we're all here. What I wanted to ask was, we were looking at the ticketing on the Fringe Festival site, and there's an area for discounts, but there's also an area that says levels. And we were wondering what levels mean.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I know that these are like a little more administrative questions, so I can answer this. So yes, you are able to create levels on the Fringe website. So you can say like your general participant ticket. There's also a ticket for Fringe artists, which I believe is called the participant price. There's also new ones you can create. Like some Fringers have been like, oh, my regular ticket cost is $15 for accessibility and affordability, but the true cost of my work is say like $25. And you might be like, who's going to pay $25? Well, you can just list it. There's no shame in listing a higher ticket price and being like, oh, that is a thing. Some Fringers have also been like, oh, if you buy this ticket, you get like a sticker. And you will have to keep a track of those and see who's buying that higher tier and make sure you can get them their sticker or whatever merch that they've affiliated with the ticket. But that can also happen with levels. And also, yeah, feel free. There's no wrong way to do merch, and you are allowed to do merch at Fringe. Just know that Fringe moves fast. So when you're leaving, another show's coming in. I believe okay, we're going to go up this way.
Hi, I'm Regina. My show's Trans Mom versus Family Court. It's about me winning custody of my daughter without an attorney in 1995 when I had just started transitioning. So my question is, has anybody copywritten their show? Is anybody sending their show for copyright?
You don't need to do that. But anything that you write, when you write it, you automatically have copyright. You don't need to register it with anything or anyone.
Okay.
I'm
You don't need to.
I did with the WGA just because I think I like post it. I mean, I put it under where you can view it. So I made the script public. So I I registered it with the WGA. I don't suspect anybody is going to be like, oh, this fine piece of work, I must make mine. So I think it's going to be okay.
Well, I think my question is specifically because I don't know if anybody else is doing crowdfunding, but I'm doing crowdfunding too. And that's kind of like putting the show out in a more public place. So no, you don't think it's that important?
I can tell you from years in television
Overkill,
and
right?
film and theater, it's once you write something, you own the copyright. And if someone actually wants to go to the great lengths to rip something off from you, especially something this specific, I would take it as an extraordinary compliment. And then I would say, okay, great. Now you can pay me a license fee.
Hi, I'm Viva. My show's called Hidden Gem. It's a stand-up comedy show about the time I had a panic attack and barricaded myself into the only bathroom at a party. My question is there so obviously there's some press packages and, newsletters available and stuff like that. And then there's also potential to do pre-show press or, stuff like that, reach out to people. I'm just wondering, did any of you utilize any pre-actual preview tools to put your show in newsletters that you found to drive audience as opposed to just press?
Hollywood or Broadway world is so easy to get your show on there. They'll let anyone on there. So do it. It's just nice to show that people have written about it. NoHo Arts also will post about anything. But I don't know how helpful they were in the end for ticket sales. It's going to be more the in-person stuff.
I'm pretty cynical when it comes to this sort of thing. It's if it's easy and super cheap, I did it. I don't know, though, whether or not it drove traffic. The show I just closed again, we did a lot of sort of local stuff. I don't think it drove any traffic. I knew the editor of Spin Magazine. He published an article about the show, and then we got some ticket sales from that. So you kind of don't really know, but I wouldn't kill yourself over it.
Brilliant. I'm going to keep hopping around. I just want to make attention to time. We're going to try to push. Thank you, Jen. Jen is the one sitting over there. She's the venue manager here with Greg. They're amazing. They gave me batteries for these microphones. But time check. I'm going to probably close it out at 9:15. And then if our panels have to dip out, that's totally fine. If you're welcome to stay. We'll close out for 15 more minutes. We'll just be off the live stream. So I'm going to pass it to you.
Hi, my name is Chase Lounge. I'm a drag king, and I'm doing a musical comedy solo show called Chase Lounge from Straight to Gay. My question is specifically about those of you who did Instagram ads, and when you did them, did you use the suggested audience from Instagram? Did you use the suggested audience that Instagram suggests, or did you create your own audience to advertise to, and then who did you select as that audience?
I created my own audience. You want to be really specific and also, just don't spend money to spend money, So I did specific, people who are interested in clown, people are interested in comedy, people that are interested in live performance, theater. But go as specific as possible, because if you're going to put your money towards it, make sure it's targeted to people who will probably likely show up.
Hi, my name is Dee. The show is My Tiger. It's about my experiences as a mixed race person. And my question was, there's something about posters for the Fringe Central venue. Could you explain that in detail? I'm not really sure what the Fringe Central venue is and how you get a poster in there.
Is it the same one? So it's literally
I was going to say, we are in the midst of making it be the same place. We'd love for it to be the same place. To give you reference, speaking on 2024's year, we were at the Ovation. That's the building that houses the Dobie, and then it's that mall area. We were very lucky in getting a storefront that was pretty audience-facing. But Fringe Central is this revamped marketing scheme really aimed towards your audience members and audience members as a whole. So obviously Fringe does marketing for the festival, that whole tactic, and this is where cabarets will be held, which is a 3 to 5 minute snippet of your show. And we do a couple of cabarets there. It's all to invite an audience off the street in and buy tickets. And in fact, last year we saw the highest ticket sales due in part to we had so many people coming off the street being like, what is this? What is this stage here in Hollywood? What's going on? And then just asking them what do you want to see? What's your availability? How can we get you to see a show here at Fringe? The typical Fringe audience sees about, I believe, 5+ shows. And then I don't know what I was saying about that.
Well, it's like a bar, like a lounge area.
But there will be no bar.
But no bar this year, possibly. But the idea is you can go hang out there. There's tables and chairs. You could buy a fringe shirt and buttons, and you can put your postcards there so people can find your show. But then what we do is we take a poster, if you have one, and we make a wall of posters, and it's like 100 posters, and it's gorgeous, and it shows like the vast, participants that are in our, community. And it's a meeting place, which then has a stage that Roddy will build by scratch and do short little 5 minutes, of your show. You can come and do a sample during a cabaret so people get to see what your show's about. That's what the cabarets are. So be sure to sign up for cabarets when those options come up.
And just remember, we can only accept 11 by 17. And also, like Haverty said, it's like 100 posters because we cover a whole wall. But there are actually nearly 400 shows at Fringe. So there will be a day, make sure you are opted into those newsletters, that you see when that's happening, when the drop-off day is, because we start hanging them up. And we eventually do run out of space. Same thing with your postcards. There will be a way to display postcards, but we can only accept 40 of them because it's a lot of postcards. Yes. Yeah.
Hi, my name is, can you hear me? Okay. Hi, my name is Yolande. I go by Yo-Yo. I have a film about human trafficking, and I'm turning it into a stage play. I've never done stage play in my life, so this will be the first time that we're doing it as a stage play. And I'm getting my own venue because it's going to be like a one-day human trafficking awareness event that I'm putting the play into the festival. So my question is, I'm going to sell my own ticket for like $50 and putting it on the Fringe Festival. I know you told me about that, but somehow my mind is somewhere. So putting the ticket in the Fringe Festival, knowing that I have to sell 300 tickets, maybe. So what if I sell some of my own ticket by myself, and do I have to really go through the website? Because sometimes people don't, people can buy easily from you. Then telling them, oh, can you get the ticket online for myself? Then they say, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. And they don't do it. So what if it's easy for us to sell it privately? Do we have to give it to the French, like a percentage to the French? That's one question. Second, you put an ad for to have your own page. It's like $2,000, $1,000, and $50 for the online advertisement. So if I pay $2,000, do I have my own page on the print book? Or if I pay $1,000 and I want to upgrade to the $2,000, is that possible?
Sorry, guys, I'm just going to answer some of these questions. So when your show is registered, you will get I believe it's a 50% discount to printed guide ads. So there is a full page ad that you can buy for $2,000 if you're a non-registered show, or really that means like you're a business in Hollywood that wants to be sponsored or featured in the packet. If you're registered already, that's $1,000 for a whole page. Everything gets cut in half. The Fringe ticketing platform can hold all of your tickets. It's possible. If you want to go to a different site, you can. You just have to do 50%. So if you're in a 100-seat theater, 50% of your tickets, 50 seats, have to be sold on the website. Also, for ticketing, we don't take any of the ticketing that you make out of it. Fringe has a processing fee of $3 per ticket. That just helps the website run. It does a lot. So that's what that's for, but it's never coming out of your pocket. It's coming out of an audience member. So like if you have a ticket that's $15, your ticket gets reflected to them as $18. That's per ticket. And then, yes. So, and then, I'll also mention that we may not be able to get to everyone's questions. I've been highlighting in the chat that I hold artist one-on-one sessions where anyone can schedule a 30-minute to 10-minute session where we can talk about anything Fringe you want, and I can get those all answered. So if there's nothing that happens here or the panelists, I can follow up all that way. I am not. I'm going to do I have one question from the chat, and then I know there's still some questions we'll answer after, but there's a question from the chat who's been here. I believe we've had like 20 people here. It's wonderful. Daniel Shaw, the panelists, have you bought guide ads in the printed guide? How was that experience for you, if you did? Yes, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yes, I did. I have no idea if it ended up getting me any sort of ticket sales. It was mostly because a memory for me. I wanted to keep the booklet and be like, I did it.
I did not.
When you buy the ad, do you get a section of the page or the whole page?
There's different price points. So full page, half a page, quarter page, it goes all the way down to eighth page. It's a lot.
Yeah, I bought an eighth. I think if you do an ad, put like a $1 like discount code or something on it. So you know if anything came from there. I don't think I saw anything from it, but it was also but that said, it is another exposure. Everyone's going through the ad, so it's a mix. I think a quarter is a quarter or an eighth is actually probably okay. I'm not sure about the bigger sizes if that's going to be any more valuable, in my opinion. So.
Phenomenal. Jeanette, if it's all right, I'm going to close us out, actually. Oh, you have the microphone. You got it. You got it. You're great.
I mean, whatever. Okay. Friends, thank you so much. This was workshop number 5, marketing and ticketing. Remember, any questions, again, Roddy has those one-on-one sessions. You can also just email us at support@hollywoodfringe.org. We're here to get those answers to your questions, LOL, anytime. Again, office hours start tomorrow, March 26th, Palm in the Pine from 7 to 10. Excited to see you there at any stage of your process. Truly, it's just about building community. Thank you to Roddy, Stina, Haverty, of course, for doing this live stream. Carly, who's not here, helped me a lot with this. She did this last year, so thank you to Carly as well for this whole thing. And of course, thank you to our panelists, Joe, Jenna, Stephanie, and Larry. Thank you all. Thank you so much.